In releasing, we often talk about achieving your goals by releasing only. But is it really possible? What about health and body problems? Well, today, I'm going to show you how to heal yourself simply by letting go of negativity. Coming up. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, showing you a side of yourself that is absolutely unlimited. And all you need to do to experience this unlimitedness is just get your negative thinking and negative feelings out of the way. Then this wonderful part of yourself becomes obvious to you, and you're just living in it constantly. And this is a state that Lester Levinson, the great spiritual master whose work we're continuing to demonstrate here on this channel, he pointed out that our natural state is to be happy all the time with absolutely zero trace of sorrow or negativity, none whatsoever. Just happy all the time. That's our natural state. And in that state, we're positive, we're unlimited, we have abundance because we are a creative, positive being. Now, the difference in what we do here on this channel is, unlike most others that talk about this stuff, they just talk about it. But what we do is we show you step by step how to prove it for yourself and demonstrate these concepts in your world. So if this is something that you're interested in and you're new here, then hit subscribe. And if you like what we do here, then hit like. And let's just jump into it. So, talking about Lester Levinson, I want to point out something that Lester said in terms of healing the body and demonstrating this unlimitedness on your own body. And what Lester said is, if one can heal oneself spiritually, one should do it because it's instantaneous. If one cannot do it spiritually, then one should do it mentally, as mental healing is from rapid to instantaneous. And if one cannot do it mentally, then one should do it physically by seeing a doctor. Now, first, I want to clarify what Lester said about spirituality versus mentally, because some of us will probably be sitting here figuring out, what does he mean, spiritual? And how does that make it instantaneous? Well, when Lester says healing yourself spiritually, he's talking about coming from the place where you're a master, where you know you're not the body, and you absolutely know it through and through, not just mentally. See, a lot of us, we walk around saying grandiose things like, I am an unlimited being, but I still have to work for a living. And I still have this body problem and so on. And then we try to rationalize it. Oh, well, it's the universe's decision, not mine. Or whatever, right? But if you are a master, you know you're not the body. The body is just your own mental image. It's your picture. And you could change that picture just like that, knowing you're not the body. So that's what he means by healing yourself spiritually. Now, healing yourself mentally, that's what we use goals for. Because when we set a goal, we set forth a positive picture of what it is I would like to achieve. You like perfect health, a strong body, a body full of energy, that sort of a thing. And it's kind of like what a lot of people do in the law of attraction, except the method for achieving it through the law of attraction really doesn't work so well, because the way I put it is it's like trying to put a Band-Aid on cancer, really. See, if you have a body problem and you set like a goal or an affirmation, maybe you put it on a vision board, stick it on your refrigerator, like, my body is perfectly healthy. Right? And you just try to tell yourself that again and again and again. Repeat it 30 days in the morning, repeat it 30 days at night, and after so many days, boom, you're going to be there. Well, the problem with that is, like I said, it's like trying to put a Band-Aid on cancer, because while you have this thought that you're trying to put forth that's positive and perfect, you also have a lot of thoughts to the contrary of that. Oh, I can't really do that. That's impossible. That doesn't conform to medical science, and on and on and on. Or I'm no good, or I'm scared. All of these thoughts are in the way and counteract that positive picture that you're putting forth. And basically, all the thoughts that you have consciously and subconsciously, see, it's like a scale. Whichever one is heavier, like if you got more negativity and more I can'ts, right, that's going to have more weight to it, and that's what you're going to end up getting, regardless of how many times you try to repeat it to yourself. And what Lester said about affirmations is, if you have to repeat an affirmation 1,000 times before it actually happens, all that means is the first 999 times, you just didn't accept it. It wasn't real to you. And when you finally accept it, well, there you go. You got it. Now, what we use goals for, and this is what's so brilliant about Lester's method, is that it gets you to address your thoughts, both consciously and subconsciously, through your goal. Bring them up so you can look at them. Look at that, I can't. That's impossible. I'm not good enough. I got all this fear. And using the method to knock that negativity out. And once you knock that negativity out, then you start tipping the scales. And then mentally you just decide, you know what, I'm going for health. I'm going to have that goal. And it's like an easy thought. And you, being a creator, being an unlimited being, you make that decision, so be it. And that's what he means by doing it mentally, right? You're just getting clear and then mentally changing your body. Now, if that doesn't work, well, what Lester said is, well, you know what? Do the next best thing. Go take a pill. Go take some vitamins. Go see a doctor. Big deal, right? Don't sit there and suffer. And this is something I want to address because I've seen this happen a lot with students here, where we're trying to release on something and get a result, and we're not getting the result. And then we start feeling bad about ourselves. Oh, I'm such a failure. Like, I'm trying to get off this high blood pressure medication. I don't like taking it. It doesn't feel good. And, I'm kind of stuck having to take it. I'd rather not. So I'm going to try to release on that. I release on that, but then I feel the symptoms coming up. I feel that pressure. And then, okay, I got to take the medication. And then we start beating ourselves up about it. Well, that doesn't help anything. And that's why Lester pointed out, look, just do the next best thing. Just take the medication. Give yourself approval anyway and keep releasing, right? Keep digging, keep letting go of the negativity, and eventually you'll get there. But you're not going to get there by beating yourself up. Now, on that note, I want to share a personal story that follows a bunch of really wonderful health gains that I've achieved. But I found myself in a stuck position, right? And this principle that I'm talking about of Lester's here, I applied it, and it just worked like magic. See, throughout my years of releasing, one of the things I released on a number of times, and I got the goal for this, was healing my teeth of cavities and other teeth problems. And I did this in ways in which we actually took an x-ray and saw a cavity there. And then I said, well, let's schedule the appointment later this week. It's not an emergency, right? We could do it later, right? It's like, yeah, we'll schedule it later. It's no problem. And I didn't tell the dentist what I was doing, but I went home and I set a goal. I released on it. And I felt great. I was like, I'm really confident. I just know inside that my tooth is just fine. And so when I showed back up at the dentist, I said, well, before we go ahead and drill into my tooth, can we just take another x-ray? And it's like, well, sure. It's just more money for me. Why not? And so we took the other x-ray, and guess what? The cavity was gone. Now, I did this several times, right? Healing my teeth just by releasing only. But along came a time in which I think I chipped a tooth or something. It felt like I had cracked or broken it. And in my mind, it's like, uh-oh, something bad has just happened. And I felt a lot of pain. And I was like, okay, well, I've released before and I've healed my teeth. I'm going to do it again. So I just sat there, released on it. And I did this for about a week. And I wasn't getting anywhere. And I was like, oh, no, this isn't working. And in this frustration that I was sitting in that moment, I realized part of me just did not want to go to the dentist. And I kept trying to go back to releasing, like, save me releasing. This has got to work. And it wasn't. That's why I was getting frustrated. But when I realized, boy, I just don't want to go to the dentist, it's like, well, that's a bit of a block. See, in my mind, I had all these reasons why I didn't want to go. It might cost me a lot of money. I didn't want to go to the dentist and have him sit there and just look at me disapprovingly like, you really don't take good care of your teeth, do you? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I didn't want to go through all of that. And because I didn't want to confront that negativity, I was pushing that down inside of me, and that was creating a block. So I sat down and I did attachments and aversions to going to the dentist. And I cleaned up all of that stuff so that it was totally okay if I went to the dentist and had him do that work. And I was totally okay even if I didn't. I just got nice and imperturbable. And see, that's the key. Imperturbability. That's what the method is all about. That is what Lester points to again and again. If you want the method to work, you got to make imperturbability, being imperturbable, being in the place where nothing bothers you. That's the key. That's what makes a master a master. A master isn't bothered by anything at all. So once I got to that place where I was imperturbable, I was fine going to the dentist. I showed up, I was happy. And it was a new dentist. I hadn't seen a dentist for several years. I was living in San Francisco, didn't know who to go to, but I found someone and it's like, wow, this is a great guy. And I was happy to be there. And so I sat down in this chair. And the first thing he said to me is, boy, you take really good care of your teeth. Oh, good. I'm glad you think so. And he poked around in my tooth and said, actually, there's nothing wrong with you. Go home. And in that moment, when he just confirmed that, reflected back to me what I was already starting to know inside of myself, all that pain that was just constant for like the week or so before just disappeared. It's like kind of like the final little thing to just say, okay, I can just let the rest of this go. But the whole thing went away. I went home. The whole thing was done. And so that is really a big key if you want to achieve these results by releasing only, is you got to go 100% towards imperturbability. You see, where we get hung up, like if we're releasing on a goal, and what we're saying is, well, I'm going to be positive and I'm going to be loving as long as I get my goal. But if I don't get that goal, I'm not going to be so loving. I'm going to feel frustrated. I'm going to beat myself up. I'm going to throw my hands up and say, well, releasing doesn't work. Screw it. Well, how loving is that? See, what we're doing is we're playing a game of conditions. well, I'm only going to be loving if I get what I want, right? It doesn't work that way. You got to be completely okay even if you don't get what you want. Even if the worst thing happens, you got to be okay with that. And that's what makes the difference. And I want to share one other story here. About a month ago, a student called up and said, I really need your help. I just went to the doctor and they found that I have a massive tumor inside of me. They don't know if it's cancerous or not, but even if it isn't, they said it's all up in my organs and they don't know if they can even remove it. And I don't know if I'm going to be, if I'm going to die. And so the first thing we did was we just started to discriminate. He said, well, even if it's the worst case scenario, right? If you have fear, how does the fear help you? And how's being negative going to help you? And that is entirely your decision, right? So let's not mind what's going to happen in the future. Let's just focus on where we are right here, right now. And there's fear right now. And this is something that is under your control. So we sat there, we just brought up all the fear. And after a bit of releasing, right, they got nice and quiet, nice and peaceful. And this inner love started coming up. And they said, okay, I feel good. Now I got a handle on it. And I said, okay, so now that you're positive, you're not swimming in the fear and other emotions. You're like on a bridge overlooking that raging river, not getting caught up by it. Right? Now you got some clarity. Now you can focus on a goal and use that to bring up the rest of your negativity. And they said, yep, okay, I got it. I feel good. I'm going to work on my goal. And then we left the call at that. And then last week, I spoke to them again. And they said, oh yeah, I went and had the operation. I said, oh, how did it go? They said, well, first of all, it wasn't cancerous, nothing like that. And it was, all through my organs, and it was a very complicated procedure normally, but the doctor told me afterwards that they were absolutely amazed at how well it went. There was no bleeding that likely would have happened. They were able to get it all out. It was like 10 pounds of a tumor that they removed. And they said it was just the smoothest, easiest thing. And even though they told me that I would have months and months of recovery to go through, that was just 3 weeks ago. I feel great. I'm even back at work now. So, again, this shows that we just take it one step at a time. We just address what's in the moment and make a decision. Well, if I have negativity, right? If I have fear or other wanting going on, how does that help me? And what am I going to do about that? Right? So we start with that. And then one step at a time, even if we have to go see a doctor, we just keep releasing all through the whole thing. And it just gets better and better. In other words, releasing doesn't hurt anything. Getting positive, getting nice and loving only helps no matter what is going on. And if you just take that step to get positive, to get imperturbable, the results that come from that just might astound you. So that's the beauty of releasing. And that's how you can approach dealing with health and body problems and see miracles happen by releasing only. So speaking of releasing, let's do a little bit of releasing now. See if you have a body problem right now. It doesn't have to be like a major illness or anything. Maybe you just have, a shoulder that gives you problems. Or You have, I have my bad knee or whatever. It's not a major thing. Maybe it's just a little inconvenience. Or maybe it is something major. Now, first of all, take a look to see if you're trying to figure out what to do about that or what's wrong, how to fix it. And does your mind know? Now, it might have some ideas. Oh, well, I read on WebMD, or I talked to this doctor and they told me I have XYZ problem. Okay, great. Now that I have a label for it, I feel so much better. Now I know what to do. No. You're still in the same position. You still don't have an answer, right? And maybe the only answer is, well, go see a doctor. Go take some drugs, or go get operated on. Go let them cut you up. That's not a really good answer. But can you see your mind doesn't know what to do? It doesn't have a clue. Yet it insists it does. It says, well, I'll help you find an answer. And it drags you all over the place. Go over here. Go to this website. Go listen to this person. Go read that book. Sends you all over the place. And when you looked everywhere and you still don't have an answer, what does your friend the mind tell you? It says, well, my advice is beat yourself up. Right? Now see if you've been beating yourself up or disapproving of your body. Now how does that help you? Is that going to make it better? If you're disapproving of your body, you might as well be beating it with a stick. And who's doing it? You are, aren't you? And if you're doing it and it doesn't help, now you can make a decision. I'm going to be positive and love myself, or I'm going to be negative and beat myself up. Well, what do you decide? Well, I'm assuming you're deciding to be positive. I mean, it's really the only choice when you look at it. Because if you're doing it, you're in charge. You're in the driver's seat right now. Now, since you're in the driver's seat and it's your choice, could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit? And it's just a decision, yes or no. And could you let go disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And could you let go disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And could you let go disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And even more. And even more. And could you let go disapproving of yourself even more? And even more. And how does that feel? Just notice if you feel a little bit lighter. That's all we're looking for. Just a little bit lighter feeling. Right? Not so bad. And it's showing you that you're moving in the right direction. You see, all things being equal, even if you have the problem, would you rather have the problem and feel all heavy about it? Or would you rather have it and feel light, more imperturbable about it? See, when you look at it this way, you get to play A, I win, B, I win. No matter what happens, right? I come out a winner. I come out positive. Now, could you give yourself some approval? Why not? It's just a decision, yes or no. Could you like yourself a little bit? No reason, just because. And could you give yourself a little bit more approval? And could you give yourself a little bit more approval? And more. And even more. and more, and even more, and even more, and even more, and even more. And how's that feel? Notice if you feel more positive, more present, more quiet, at peace. And that's not so bad either. Now see if you're disapproving of, maybe it's pain or some sort of symptom that you have. And look at what you're doing when you're disapproving of it. First of all, you don't like that pain or whatever. And in your mind, what you're deciding is I cannot be happy until that pain goes away. I need it to go away. Then I can be happy. But sitting here with it, I'm miserable. But that's your choice. Now, how are you going to achieve positive by being negative in the meantime? It doesn't work that way. Or could you let go of disapproving of the pain or symptom? Just a little bit. It might be tough. You're like, I know you've probably spent a long time complaining to yourself about it. I need this to go away. But just a little bit. Could you let go of disapproving of it? And could you let go of disapproving of it a little bit more? Just a little bit. And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And even 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 more. And how's that feel? Now, could you give it a little bit of approval? Now, it doesn't mean that you have to agree with it. Just love it. Give it some love and approval. That's all. And could you give it a little bit more approval? And could you give it a little bit more approval? And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And even more. And even more. And how does that feel? And notice how that pain or symptom feels. Notice the difference. And notice how your body feels. Notice the difference there. Now, one way to look at this, and what we just did here, this little releasing exercise, is see if there's anything going on in the body, pain or symptom or otherwise, what that pain or symptom is like the body ringing a doorbell saying, hey, there's some negativity here. There's a pocket of negativity. It needs your attention. Please fix it. All right, it's ringing that doorbell. But how do we typically answer that door? Oh, I don't like this. I hate it. I want to get away from it. Right? We answer it with negativity. So we're taking something that's a pocket of negative energy and adding more negativity to it. It's like throwing a log on the fire. And we just see in our own experience what happens, what we get out of it when we don't like what's going on. And we typically don't like what's going on when we have a body problem, which is why once we get something, we tend to get stuck with it. But how you make the whole thing go away is you greet that door with positivity, with love, right? So you send positive energy to that thing. And it's not a mental thing, right? Right? You can't do it mentally. What you do is you do it by letting go of the negativity first. That's what most people don't do. Most people walk around trying to pretend to be positive while suppressing their negativity. You got to bring all that up. Look at it, get imperturbable about it, then let that go. And then the positivity, the love is natural. And when you give your body that love, you just have a perfect picture of it. And the body itself, it's a perfect doctor. You give it love, positivity, it fixes itself. That's what we call a health miracle. Now, if you want to go deeper into this and really prove this out to yourself, I'm doing a 6-week advanced course called Mastering the Body, starting on October 13th. And we're going to go right into bringing up all of our thoughts and programs about how limited we think our body is and all the negativity that we have about our body, and letting all of that go so that we can have a very positive and comfortable relationship with our body, where it's just a perfect, beautiful, comfortable vehicle that we have that is totally under our control. We're not a slave to our body, but actually a master over it. So if you want to be a master over your body, then join me for the Body Mastery course starting in October, and prove to yourself who you are and just how powerful you are. All right? So keep releasing, keep getting positive, keep getting imperturbable, and I'll see you on the next video.